Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Yeonni, and for this week's Mental Health Monday, I wanted to talk about mindfulness. Mindfulness is a term that I feel like we've been hearing a lot in media. Maybe you've heard it from your friends or your teachers or your coworkers or whoever it may be. In 2012, more than 40 papers were published every month on the topic of mindfulness, and now growing even more. There's mindfulness books, there's mindfulness conferences, science journals and magazines just strictly dedicated to mindfulness. So what exactly is mindfulness? Is it just a millennial trend, or is it something that is evidence-based and supported by empirical research on actually being beneficial to the human being? So here is a definition on what mindfulness is. Everyone has a different kind of definition, so I scoured through a bunch of different research articles and kind of put this giant one together. Mindfulness means maintaining a moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment. So it's a moment-to-moment awareness of one's experience without judgment. Whether it's right or wrong is not important. You're just kind of realizing your experience. In this sense, mindfulness is a state. It's not a trait. It's not something that you have or don't have. It's a state of thought, a state of consciousness. When it comes to mindfulness, there's a sense of acceptance of where we are at this time, our experiences, our feelings, and accepting them without judgment. Is it wrong to feel this way? Is it right to be in this emotional state? None of that matters when you're in a state of mindfulness. You just are aware, and that's it. When we're practicing mindfulness, it's important to be attuned to the present rather than thinking of the past, rather than thinking of the future. It's all about being present in the moment. Mindfulness was brought into the mainstream by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who created the mindfulness-based stress reduction program in 1979. Since that time, there have been thousands of studies that have been done that have documented various physical and mental health benefits of utilizing mindfulness training. So this is a huge list of... Okay. So my cat has decided to sit on my lap while I do this, so he's just gonna chill there, I guess. Alright, so don't mind this tail in the picture. There have been several empirically supported benefits of mindfulness. The first one being reduced rumination. There were studies where there was a control group and a group that had partaken in a mindfulness-based training program. At the end of the day, those who took part in the mindfulness program self-reported that they were feeling less rumination and less symptoms of depression. Another benefit that has shown through evidence is that mindfulness leads to stress reduction. Researchers found that participants who experienced mindfulness-based stress reduction program, so this program, had significantly less anxiety, depression, and somatic distress compared with the control group. I love the neurological parts of these research. It's so fascinating. The brain is such a weird thing. In addition, the fMRI data indicated that the mindfulness group had less neural reactivity when they were exposed to negative films than control groups, and they displayed distinctly different neural responses while watching the said films that they did before their mindfulness training. So let me just explain that. So there was a control group who saw a really gory, negative feeling inducing film, and then there was a experimental group who took part in a mindfulness-based training before they saw the same film. And at the end of the experiment, as you could have guessed, those who took part in the mindfulness-based training, basically they reacted less to the negative imagery, and they could kind of control their emotions, and they didn't feel as stressed by the things that they saw on the screen. And even their brains showed different kinds of neural reaction to those said images, which is fascinating. These findings suggest that something about mindfulness allows people's brains to function and react differently to certain stimuli. There is also evidence that mindfulness boosts working memory. There was a study done with a military group where, as you can guess, there was a control group who were given certain tasks to do, and then there was an experimental group who were given the same task but then took part in the mindfulness-based training. And then at the end of the day, the experimental group seemed to have reported better working memory as opposed to the control group. And then some other benefits include being able to focus more, less emotional reactivity, kind of how we talked about it. You can regulate your emotions more when you've taken part in a mindfulness exercise. There's more cognitive flexibility. This one was so interesting. There's also relationship satisfaction, but if you think about it, it makes sense because so much of mindfulness training is based on in the present, right? So you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future. You're able to kind of cut away all the extraneous things in your mind and what's concerning you and focus on the present. So when it's conflicts with a partner, when you've taken part in mindfulness, activities or training, evidence has shown that partners are able to verbalize their feelings and their true concerns better than their counterparts who had not taken place in a mindfulness-based training program. Other benefits have shown to enhance self-insight, morality, intuition, fear modulation. These are all functions associated with the brain's frontal lobe area. This is kind of like the decision-making part of your brain, where the logic, right? So mindfulness seems to work with this part of your brain. The cognitive factors of mindfulness, or just mental health in general, is so fascinating. Evidence also suggests that mindfulness leads to various health benefits: increased immune functioning and reduction in psychological distress, and increased information processing speed. So that cognitive flexibility, being able to focus, all of that comes together. This is interesting because a lot of the benefits that I mentioned before has to do with pretty much everybody, but there have been multiple studies that have been done to show how mindfulness can be beneficial to therapists or those who are training to be therapists. Evidence has shown that mindfulness enhances empathy, compassion, counseling skills, and also decreases stress and anxiety for therapists who exercise mindfulness in their profession. And these studies, they have been done not only on those who are in the mental health field, but pre-med and medical students. For example, when it comes to empathy, pre-med and medical students who participated in an 8-week mindfulness MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction program, found that they had significantly higher self-reported empathy than a control group. There was one with nurses. Nursing students reported better quality of life after MBSR training. So it's not just those in the mental health field. It seems like a lot of people in the health-related fields are benefiting and could continue to benefit from taking part in MBSR training, and it makes them better clinicians, essentially, to treat the general population. And last but not least, because if there's a lot of positives, there could also be some negatives. Certain research has shown that mindfulness might not be for everyone, because if you think about it, mindfulness is so much on the present, right? It's so much of really seeing yourself for who you are. So what happens to people who kind of live in a false world where they think they are somebody that they are not? So this quote said it perfectly: meditation, when practiced intently, leads one into deep exploration of inner space. Long-held grief, body tension, and critical or judgment thoughts may be met perhaps for the first time with full attention. If you have been holding things inside you that you have locked away because it's just too painful, don't want to deal with it, or you're not even conscious that you have locked things away, mindfulness-based meditation or attempts at a mindfulness program could lead to these negative emotions being brought out in the forefront. You can't ignore them anymore. And there were studies where it definitely wasn't the majority of people did benefit from mindfulness, but there were people who took part in MBSR training and self-reported that they experienced some negative psychological symptoms, or they experienced extreme stress, just negative symptoms of pretty much facing your deepest, darkest fears that you had locked away for so long. So mindfulness is really great, extremely beneficial. Science, data, literature, it all points to it being very beneficial for the individual, however, should be practiced with caution. So mindfulness can happen in self-regulation practices like yoga, tai chi, or those kinds of settings. But mindfulness can also happen in your own home and can happen even in your own practice or where you work, as a therapist, as a doctor, as a nurse, or even someone who has nothing to do with the health or mental health field. Mindfulness has shown evidence to increase your productivity, help you deal with stress in a better way, and a lot of just positive benefits that could help you in your everyday life. So yeah, that's it for this week's Mental Health Monday. Please let me know what you think about this week's topic of mindfulness. Let me know if you've tried it before, or if you want to try it now, or if you're opposed to it. I don't know. Since this is it seems like a trendy thing these days, since a lot of people love to say, oh, just be mindful or just use mindfulness. So I thought this video could be helpful to kind of break down what is mindfulness and is it even good for you? Is it some sort of millennial trend that everyone does just because you feel like you should? I personally really enjoy mindfulness. I employ it sometimes with my clients in my workplace. Mindfulness-based cognitive behavior therapy has shown a lot of positive benefits when working with clients with severe anxiety. Even with myself, I use some basic mindfulness techniques throughout the day to deal with my stress and deal with just kind of decluttering my frontal lobe, as I say, and become more focused and be able to be more productive. If you like the video, please make sure to like it, and if you like these kinds of videos, please always, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I make mental health videos every Monday, and on Fridays I kind of make whatever I feel like making, so it's free for all Fridays, so you can check out my channel for yourself to see what those are like. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!